Welcome to the Embodied Sounds podcast, where we explore how music and sound add to our collective well-being in mind, body, and spirit. In order to keep this podcast free of advertising, please consider joining our Patreon community. Your support will go towards the creation of this show, as well as original music compositions and recording projects to help us all reduce stress and live a healthier and happier life. Learn more at www.embodiedsounds.com. Welcome everyone to a new episode of the Embodied Sounds podcast. My name is Joshua Sam Miller, coming to you from my studio here in Nevada City. And today I am blessed to be joining Prema Love on a conversation where we can explore the ways in which music and sound have been a part of her life and hear more about her journey. She is a world recording artist and devotee of Amma in India and has really spent her life honoring the Divine Mother that exists everywhere. So I'm excited to learn more from her experience, and welcome to the show, Prema Love.
Thank you so much, Josh, for having me. It's such a blessing and divine timing as always, as we reconnect during this powerful time on the planet.
100%. Yeah, I remember the first time we met was at a Kirtan in Santa Cruz. We played together in a yoga studio, and I just always appreciated your the way that you walk, the way that you show up in the world, and really share your gifts. So thank you for being of service in that way.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I was reflecting on that this morning about how we first met, and it was at this beautiful community Kirtan in Santa Cruz. And we had, I want to say like a 15-piece band or something. It was incredible. All these world musicians and Kirtan artists. And Josh and I, we were in the mix together. And we just clicked, that soul family instant connection. And you were playing the handpan at that time. And I was really drawn to the tabla. You were playing tabla as well. And then we exchanged info, and Divine just kept bringing us back together to make music magic. And yeah, I'm excited for more.
Amazing. Yes, it was a good first meeting. And at that stage in my life, it was Kirtan was still a very new practice for me. I had really only been a part of the Bhakti community for a few months at that stage. And I'm curious if you can remember back to your early introductions to the world of Bhakti and this beautiful devotional music. How did that come into your life?
That question makes me laugh because it was such a mystical unfolding. And I mean, I feel like it started from when I was a little girl. All my grandmothers and my mother were devotees of the Divine Mother in the form of Mother Mary. So I kind of was born into it. They all had such reverence and devotion for the Divine Mother. It wasn't until I was 19 when my spiritual awakening really started to activate and unfold. And I traveled a lot. I met all kinds of interesting people. I went to all kinds of temples. I chanted with the Hare Krishnas and chanted with the Buddhists. And I just explored and expanded my way of seeing the world from kind of growing up in a religious family. And I saw that there was so much more out there. So when I started chanting, that's when everything transformed in my life. I was 19. And I always say at my concerts, I started chanting when I was 19 and I never stopped all these years. And so, yeah, that's really that's the short version.
Amazing. Do you remember maybe one of the first chants that you experienced at 19?
Yeah, the first chant was the Maha mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. That's the first chant that I really dove into. And when I met my spiritual teacher, Amma, she's the hugging saint, she came to me in a dream. That's how I first connected with her energy. She came to me in two dreams. The first one was her guiding me to come meet her in Los Angeles. I was living in Maui at the time. And the second one, she was putting a garland of red flowers around my neck. And she said, chant your mantra. And that was the mantra that I was chanting a lot. So I've never stopped chanting that mantra. And since then, I've been initiated with Amma. When you get initiated with your spiritual teacher, often they will give you a mantra that's your mantra for life, that's just between you and the guru. And so that's also a mantra I chant a lot.
Beautiful. Wow. What was it like to meet Amma for the first time?
It was the most amazing experience of my life. And I've had a lot of amazing experiences with her that just kept getting richer and deeper and higher over all these years, spending time with her in California and in India. So it was just the highest blessing of my life to meet her.
Wow. And so beautiful that she was able to give you that individual mantra. I'm curious, how has that supported you in your life, in your journey to come back to in different moments? The power of mantra obviously is so rich and so profound. I'm curious if there's any stories or moments that you can remember where it was really there for you.
I mean, so many times. I have so many stories, but just your question makes me think about Amma has some kind of quote. I don't remember the exact words, but it's along the lines of, the mantra is your lifeline to the divine, or like, think of yourself out swimming in the ocean, and it's like an oar, like something that keeps you afloat. Because there's so much that happens just in everyday life and stress and so many different things. And I really find that the mantras bring more happiness, more bliss, more joy. They keep my vibration high. And I read this amazing quote. It said, Kirtan, or the mantras, they awaken the light in you. So I always think of that, like when you're chanting these sacred mantras, it's like activating all your cells. It's activating every part of you, and it's activating your true self. So you're awakening your true self as divine love and divine light.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Such a powerful practice that's timeless. Thousands of years of tradition coming through in that wisdom. What I'm really passionate about in this podcast is understanding how music and sound can be supportive of us holistically in life. And I have found it very common in my exploration of music for myself and meeting other musicians who have really developed the practice on a daily or weekly basis, something that can support you, especially in moments where perhaps life is really challenging, or we suffer from illness, disease, loneliness, a worldwide pandemic. Has your music been that rock in a sense? And if so, how would you describe that practice element in your life?
That's a great question. Yeah, I was also thinking about how the mantras really help with depression as well. Because they elevate our spirits, because these are divine frequencies or divine names. And through this pandemic, I've spent so much time chanting. I've spent a lot of time in meditation, chanting Kirtan and writing new devotional songs. And really, it's like soul medicine, and it brings you back home to your true self. And it's just so uplifting. It brings joy. It's even good for nature, Mother Nature, when we chant and when we sing. That's one of the things Amma says. I love the aspect of how it brings joy. I was chanting, it's whale season here in Maui right now. I was chanting and the whales were jumping, and I just go with no expectation. I just sit out and I chant, and all these people were coming around and they said, thank you so much for raising the vibration on the planet. And that is what these mantras do. They raise the vibration.
100%.
Actually, even more so, they remind us that the vibration is already high. That's the natural vibration of the universe. So what I feel is it reattunes us to the frequency of our true nature and to Mother Nature, which is one and the same.
I love that. And I was speaking, as I shared earlier, with Kat McMillan yesterday, who invited the practice of going into nature and carving out that time to sit and to sing and
Mm.
allow yourself to feel inspired by what's happening around you. And do you relate with nature through sound in different ways?
Mm. That's beautiful. You brought up Kat because she's a dear friend that I've met on the road traveling too. So blessings to Kat. She's going to come over and visit Maui soon. So that's exciting. Yeah, we'll have a Bhakti reunion here. But nature, Mother Nature is such a big part of my life, especially living here in Hawaii. I've lived here for about 5 years and I've spent a lot of time here coming and going. Even as a traveling musician, I'd come back here to recharge with the mama, recharge with Mother Nature. And so I feel like during this pandemic, I deepened my connection to Mama Maui and nature on a whole nother level. I spent most of my time out barefoot, walking on the earth, swimming in waterfalls, hiking, swimming in the ocean almost every day, walking barefoot on the beach. And I'd chant every morning on my mala. I would chant the divine names and I would go chant on the beach near the ocean and meditate. And it transformed my life in a huge way this last year. And I didn't really fully notice the difference until I just went to California to finish recording my album. And I was on a whole nother schedule. I was in the studio recording for like 8 hours a day. I didn't have as much time outside in nature. I wasn't eating and drinking like in the same way that I do here. Like I'm a raw vegan when I'm here in Maui. So I eat all raw vegan, like vegetables and fruits and juices like I'm drinking here. But there, I did my best. I drank a lot of juices, but I ate a little bit more heavy stuff because it was cold and I was indoors. And I got back to Hawaii, my home, just a couple of weeks ago, and I felt like my whole energy shifted. Like I didn't have I needed to reconnect with nature again. And it's taken time to like get back in balance, I have to say, since I've been back. So yeah, it's so important to connect to nature and recharge, especially when we're on our computers a lot or around EMFs. We're in such a world of like technology right now, even more than ever. So it's really important to have that balance.
Totally, totally. And I guess, from that kind of sound perspective, looking through the lens of, or listening through the lens of our ears, how does sound kind of color your experience, as a musician, as an artist, and divine channel, in this practice of listening rather than looking? But how has that been a part of your life, and maybe having nothing to do with music, but in conversation or relationship or, in other areas where I'm curious if your music practice has influenced your listening, approach.
Definitely. Wow, there's a lot to say on that. And that's a great question. I get most of my inspiration from being out in nature and listening and tuning in with the Divine Mother. Nature is a feminine energy and a goddess energy. And there's so much beauty to take in. And nature teaches us everything. So I learn from being present with nature and listening. And I'll take my instruments out and I'll just play, or I get, like I say, downloads from Divine in the form of songs that just come through when I'm out in nature, because it's just so clear and open. And I feel like oftentimes when we're in a room, it holds different energies, like even in the walls.
A large part of my goal with this podcast is to help translate for folks who are not musicians to recognize and understand that kind of energetic space. And many times, in conversations, there's someone who's talking all the time, for example. How can we learn to leave more space in our ways of interacting with each other to foster that deeper sense of understanding and collaboration?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mother Nature shows us everything, and there's a stillness in nature. If you really drop in, there's a stillness and there's a clarity that we can only get, I feel, from really tuning in with the earth and tuning in with nature, because it's one and the same with our true essence and our nature. And that made me think about Kirtan, the practice of Kirtan, the traditional practice of call and response, right? There is that the singer is singing out and then the responder is singing that back. So there's a listening. That person has to listen to be able to respond back. And that also reminds me of our connection with the divine communicating with us. We have to be open and receptive to the grace, to receiving. And that's the receptive feminine energy. It's being an open vessel or channel for beloved spirit, divine God, whatever you want to call it, source. When we're open and we're clear, then we can receive the messages. We can bring through the art, bring through the music, and bring through our divine offerings for the highest and greatest good of all humanity, especially during these times when it's needed the most.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I really can remember many times where I've, in my journey, felt very blocked to be able to surrender in that way and be receptive. And I'm curious if you experienced that at all yourself, maybe early on back at 19 when, you know, those Hare Krishna chants started coming into your journey for someone who's really challenging, you know, feeling challenged to let go in that way. How did you kind of get there? How did you allow yourself to be that receptive channel?
You know, it's really interesting. I want to bring this up because sometimes people on my path have thought, oh, you're a devotee of Amma, of the Divine Mother, and you chant and you meditate and you're just perfect. You're perfect because they just have this idea sometimes, and that maybe you don't have regular feelings that come up or, you know, have everyday life challenges. That's very much true because I'm very busy and on the go. And I have a lot going on right now to birth what I'm bringing out into the world. And so it doesn't mean that those things don't come up. It doesn't mean that I don't have moments that are challenging, but I have a different way of responding now. And I think the key for me has been to allow whatever it is to come up and come through. So say you're feeling funky one day and you're just tired and you need to like rest more, lay in bed more, take a nap, giving ourselves permission that it's okay, whatever comes up. But I've noticed when I was younger, before like really getting on my spiritual path, and over the years, when things that felt challenging came up, I would sometimes stay stuck in those things for a really long time, maybe like days, maybe weeks, maybe months. I would go to dark places sometimes, like even to like depressive type energy, because that was kind of around me and I grew up with that, was in my family. And like even for some people now, they can get into depression because they feel isolated, and we really need community and we need to connect to each other. And so what I want to say is that it's okay, whatever's coming up, but we have our tools and we have our practices, right? So that's why we use sound healing. We do mantras, we do kirtan, all these other practices. There's so many out there. We have access to so many tools right now, more than our families did, or our ancestors, because it's such an accelerated time. And we have more access to a lot of different tools now. And so whatever it is, be with it, be present with it, feel it, allow it to move through. I think that's really key. And it does, it always moves. And especially when you're doing the work and you keep showing up, that's what my teacher says. Amma says, spirituality isn't escapism, it's showing up. It's having courage.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for your courage, vulnerability, and sharing some of your personal journey. And oh gosh, I just resonate with all of that so much. I want to honor you for honoring yourself and allowing what's real to come through. I know that's a very difficult thing to do. I'm curious, how does the sound of silence play a role in your life? Do you spend a lot of time in quiet places?
Definitely. That's one of the reasons why I live in Maui. I, as much as people that know me might think that I'm social because I put on a lot of events and I'm always kind of creating new things. I say that I'm a part-time hermit, and I always joke around about that because I love community. I love connecting. I love people, but I need my quiet time. I need my alone time, and I need silence as much as that. So I feel really imbalanced with that now in my life. Whereas before it was extreme, you know, I'd be like very social and then like too isolated and away from people. Now it's like, I know when I need to connect with people, I know when I need to be inward and in silence. And I actually spend quite a lot of time in silence, and I love it. It's so nice.
Amazing. Yeah, me too. These days, especially, I find it's a moment where real inspiration can come through, and have also struggled to be in silence. I'm curious if you would have any tips for someone who's perhaps struggling with that right now to accept those quiet times and not be going to those dark places. As you mentioned before, the depression can come through, the anxieties can come through when we are alone, quiet, and to ourselves. And yeah, how might you guide someone to welcome that part of life and love it rather than you know, be afraid of it?
Well, for me, even when I have those moments that feel like I'm feeling a little depressed or tired or sluggish or in a darker place, because I have those moments. I'm human. Even like they said, Mother Teresa had depression. So it's not like it stays long. I just have to be with it. Sometimes I'm picking up on family members or the collective, or sometimes it is just my own stuff. Ultimately, it comes back to us, and we're all connected. So we feel all these things. But I have my mantra. I have my Guru's grace, my teacher. And that's like a rock in my life that no matter what happens and what comes up, I have that support. I feel like it's really important in my personal experience to have a form of divine to hold that space for you. And just, you know, that support's always there. I remember Amma told this simple story. She said, two kids were swimming in a pool, and one was fine and swimming just fine, and the other one was crying and having trouble swimming. And someone came and talked to the kids, and they said, why are you okay? Like they said to the one that wasn't drowning and swimming fine, they said, why are you okay? And the child said, because my mother's here. And it's just a really simple story. And it almost, you know, it reminds me of having that connection to source, having that strong connection to source and our true self. And that's why silence is so important, because when we're in that silence, we can connect to our true source, our true essence, our true nature. And so just remembering that.
Beautiful. I feel that's really helpful to hear. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you. And I want to add one more thing. Having some kind of practice is really helpful. I mean, my practice is Kirtan. It's sitting down and doing mantras. And I bliss out, and I just go to like just the super high elevated, activated place. And I love the mantras because everything else falls away. Everything dissolves. And if you love music and you haven't experienced mantras, they're like a whole nother level of music. It's a higher realm of music. And I would say that, and also doing something that you love, something that feels good, something that's fulfilling. For me, it's music. I think it's different for everyone, but always coming back to that. Even if you go to a dark place or things come up, come back to that thing that you love. Because when you're doing what you love, it raises your vibration. One more practical thing that I heard, if you get into a dark place or you feel depressed, and I've tried this and it's helped me, take a shower, scrub and clear your energy. And water is so purifying. Or you can go in the ocean, dip 3 times if you can, connect to water. Water is feminine and it's receptive energy, and it's clearing and cleansing. Take a shower if you can, and just visualize any negativity, clearing away, and just scrub and clear your energy. And then when you get out, put white clothes on. It shifts. It's a good one. It's very instant, in my opinion, in my experience.
I love it. These are such helpful tools, such helpful tools. You know, mental health these days is, I'd say, at an all time critical breaking point, and all of these basic ways to improve can make all the difference when someone's having an attack in the mind. So, gosh.
Yeah. And being out in nature, again, it comes back to, if you're on your computer a lot and you've built up all this energy or negativity or took on whatever, just go back into nature, put your feet on the earth, sit. It's simple. Get outside.
Awesome. Switching to the opposite of silence, you know, you mentioned Kirtan is your practice, and I've sat with you in many groups, received a session that I believe you were supporting at Amma's temple in California last year. And if you can describe what it feels like to be in that vibration where it's ecstatic and loud and, you know, 1,000 people chanting all together, what does that feel like?
So I want to just share a story that's kind of simple and practical. When I was in Nevada City, there was a woman there and she was doing a chanting circle. So there were about 30 of us, and one group would sit on the outside in a circle and one smaller group would sit in the inner circle. And for 45 minutes, we chanted the sacred syllable Om. Om is said to be the vibration of the universe. And so we would trade off. One group would chant and then we'd trade off being outside and in the middle. And so then at the end of the chanting circle, 45 minutes went by, we all went around and we said, what are you feeling? And when it got to me, I said, I feel like I'm in tune again. Like I got tuned up like a tuner to tune up an instrument. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. I feel like when we chant, we reattune to our true nature and the frequency of the universe. It never went anywhere. It's always here. It's just, you know, how an instrument goes out of tune sometimes because, you know, it's in humid weather or you're traveling with it and things get moved around, or all the reasons why an instrument might go out of tune. Like for humans, maybe we're not eating as good, we're not meditating, or we're around negative energy. So it just retunes us up. Recharges us, recharges our batteries.
Amazing. Would you like to play anything for us today? Are you feeling called to share, whether it's voice or guitar?
See, I kind of feel like the water element wants to come through right now because we're in Pisces season and I'm a Pisces. And it feels really kind of relevant that this whole theme of kind of going into dark places and depression and all these things that are coming up, it's important to acknowledge these parts and the grief and the sorrow that's coming up for a lot of people. And water seems to be coming through because we need that water element to bring that purification. So I feel called to do the water song. It's called Water is Life, and it's on the new album.
Water is life, life is love, love is water, is life is love, water is life, life is love, love is water, is life is love.
Wow, such a beautiful song. Oh my
Thank
God.
you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Wow.
Thank you so much. That song came through on my birthday a few years ago. I was on a whale boat singing with the whales. And a good friend of mine was just singing this little water is life, life is love. And I said, what is that? Sing that again. And then I started writing a song to it. I said, we need to make a song for the water. And I was driving one day in my car, no rain anywhere. And my thoughts were, and this is how powerful our thoughts are and our connection to nature, where I really need to make this water song. And right then, drip, this huge drop of water landed on my windshield. And I was like, oh, water is speaking. Yes, I need to make this song. So it's definitely on the album. So it's exciting.
Wow. Such
Yeah.
such a beautiful alignment of how our thoughts can manifest our reality right there.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Tell us more about this album. What has it been like to channel it through? How has the production process gone? Any highs, any lows?
Mm.
What's that journey been like for you?
Yeah. So I want to add one more thing because we were talking about our thoughts. I was just getting a hit from Spirit.
Yeah.
The more clear our thoughts are, the more things manifest, and the faster they manifest is what I want to say. The faster they manifest, because we're always manifesting. And so being really clear, the more clear our channel is through chanting, through these sacred names and our spiritual practices. And this album has been my spiritual practice. It's been my teacher. And it's not like I just slapped something together. This is a 2-year spiritual process that I poured blood, sweat, and tears into, and devotion. And it's the spiritual journey, really. There's the song for forgiveness, like the people that I had to forgive, forgiving myself, reconnecting with Mother Nature and the water element. And there's a song for the fire. There's a lot of elements in it for purification. And it's been this whole journey that we're all on together. So I'm grateful that I could bring that through as like something practical that people can listen to, because there's like spiritual teachings in the music and also healing frequencies. If you want to tune out and you're not into the words, because we have some English and some mantra, that's one of the things mantras are nice with. If you don't want the English words, you just want to tune that out, just tune in with the mantras. They have a vibration, a healing frequency, and just bliss out in that. So yeah, it's exciting. Thanks for asking. And that'll be birthed on March 1st on my birthday in just a few days. So I'm just really excited to bring that through, because it's medicine, and I want to share that medicine to bring more joy and healing to the world.
Yes, I can't wait to hear it. I can't wait to hear it. And everyone listening, definitely check out Prema's album. It's going to be a journey. I can feel it already in a healing way, and
Yeah.
have heard many of the songs live. So I'm excited to hear what you've created in the studio with Ben Leinbach, of course, the master mixing production wizard. So it's a beautiful
Yeah.
story that you're channeling in, birthing into the world. Is there anything else you feel called to share about music and sound and how it's helped you in your life, and offering that support to folks who are yet to receive the full benefits of these practices?
Yeah. So the word yoga means union. And so there's a word bhakti yoga, and bhakti means devotion. So this is devotional music. And this music transformed my life. Literally, I've been through so many things in my life. I've been through depression. I've been through dark things. I've been through challenges and obstacles and all of it. And this music just dissolves it all. It transmutes so much, and it really elevates our spirit. And it's just such a beautiful practice. And I'm so grateful that I get to do what I love every day of my life. And I had a woman that came to one of my concerts, just a short story to wrap it up. She had never been exposed to Kirtan or sacred chanting. And sometimes it's scary for people that have grown up religious, or they don't know what it is. It's esoteric. So she got invited to the concert and she was blown away. And I was sharing practical things about the songs and my experience and explaining, what they mean. And she came to me after. She said, I was so scared when I came to this concert. I've never been to anything like this. And by the end, her heart was blasted open. She was just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. This was such a great experience. And I gave her one of my albums, and I've had that happen different times. And it's just so fun to see the way that the music transforms people's minds and their hearts.
Beautiful conclusion, for sure. I can resonate, and we're also living proof that that is possible.
We are.
Really grateful for your presence, Prema. And where can people find out more about you online? What's the best way to get in touch?
Grateful for your presence too, Josh. Thank you so much for having me. And I have my website, Prema Love Music. So Prema Love Music. And then just Instagram, Prema Love, and Facebook. And yeah, just so grateful. And thank you for promoting the album and the music. And I'm excited to collaborate with you more, Josh.
Thank you. Me too. And thank you everyone for listening. Definitely check out Prema's work. It's really inspiring. And subscribe to our podcast and YouTube series if you like the content. Thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you, everyone. Namaste.